Hey everybody, I am State Representative Antonio Parkinson, and we are back once again with the Tennessee Black Caucus Weekly. And I have another special guest, great guest, a woman I've been knowing for a long time, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But she is the history-making Minority Leader, Representative Karen Camper. Representative Camper, welcome to the Black Caucus Weekly.
I am glad to be here. Thank you for your patience in getting me here.
Right. When you're busy, I understand that.
That's true.
Yeah, you have an important role. And before we get into that role, we just got to talk about real quick, how we met each other because, we were running for city council in Memphis,
Yes.
didn't know what the heck we were doing, right? But we were out there on the campaign trail.
Well, we felt like once people met us, they would vote for us.
Right.
Once they get to know us, they're going to vote for us.
Too funny, and we're going to solve all the problems of the world.
That's right.
In one swipe.
Yep.
Right. And it's funny, we both lost.
We did.
Right.
We did.
Right.
We did.
Yeah, we both lost that first
But we
one.
met great people along the way. And when people see you working and see your work ethic and the things that you're doing, it comes back because you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
So when we later turned around and we both ran for office again for the position that we're in now, people recognized that. They understood that. And they got behind us and supported us. So here we are today.
Yeah. It was fun. I like campaigning, because I love being out there with the people and
Yes.
hearing directly from them about some of the things that are challenging and the successes also, because there are some successes out there. And, but we're both in the music business
That's
too.
right. That's
Right. Too funny. And in meeting, on the campaign trail running for city council, this is back in what, 2006?
6, yeah.
Yeah, right, because the election was
was
7.
7, right.
Right. And then we learned that we were both in the music business. And look, and I'm gonna look in the camera for this, not just any old music, they were doing quality music. So it was the real deal. It was the real deal, yeah. And but that's awesome. And now, we're here at the state capitol, both as representatives. And you got here a little bit before me. Tell me about that. Tell me how you ended up getting here as a state representative.
Okay, so, thank you for that question because like I was saying earlier, when I ran for city council, of course I thought I was going to win. Meet me, we're going to win. Anyway, I lost, but people were watching. And so the gentleman that was in this role, the Honorable Gary Rowe, passed away. And, they were looking for somebody to appoint. Well, I had thought about running for a position, but I hadn't thought about for the appointment. And people was like, you need to go for the appointment. I'm thinking, well, no, that means I got to go right away. And I'm like, yeah, well, you would. And I decided that I would just go for the appointment because so many people kept asking me. And I eventually did. Once you decide you're going to do it, you get in military mode, a PowerPoint presentation, meet with everybody. I met with all the commissioners, I went before them, asked for their vote. And they, voted to appoint me to this position. And so that's how I got here. And that was in March of 2008. And then I ran that year to keep the seat.
Right. It's so crazy how eerily similar our paths are. You're military, I'm military, right? And, we both ran for city council at the same time and lost, right? And then God rest his soul and bless his family, Brother Rowe, he passed. Yeah. My predecessor, Ulysses Jones, passed. You were appointed by the county commission. Yeah. I was appointed by the county commission.
Wow.
And then and then we both ran and we're here and a lot of good work has come out of that. And it's so funny because I've been telling people there's purpose in everything. There's purpose in everything. What we see even in the loss running for city council. Yep. You don't know what's churning under the current or in the universe, and we didn't know our predecessors were going to pass, and then we'd be in these seats here at the Tennessee State Capitol, making policy for 7.5 million people. Only 7.5 million.
Only 7.5 million.
Right.
Well, that's what I tell some of the people, some of the young women that I mentor. Take that loss and learn from it. One, but two, the things that you're doing along the way. Someone is observing you. Someone is going to see what it is you're doing, how it is you're doing it, what commitments are you making, that even though you lost, there was some great things that came out of it. So don't get discouraged in a loss. Use it to propel you for something else. Like you said, the undercurrent is working. So, yes.
Yeah, that's vitally important. And, you know, people got to understand what's for you is for you.
That's true.
There's absolutely nothing that can stop it from happening. What's for you is for you. And so, yeah, and so let's talk about, you are the history maker here in our presence right now. And I don't want to tell everybody what history you made. I want you to tell everybody what history you made.
Well, thank you for that. And let me just say, you always make a point to recognize that in any forum we've ever been in, and I appreciate that. I did make history becoming the first African-American and African-American woman to be elected by my colleague as the House Minority Leader back in 2018.
That is, I don't know if they can in post can put an applause in there, but stick an applause in there if y'all can. But that is absolutely phenomenally amazing. In the how many years of the history of Tennessee? How long have we've been in existence for what, 200 so years?
Yeah, 225
and
yeah.
in those 200 years plus, we've never had a woman or a black woman to be the minority leader ever in the history of Tennessee.
That's a true statement.
Yeah, and I'm saying that because I really want people to get the gravity of that accomplishment. Yeah, you want to speak a little bit more on that?
Well, you know, it's a way to demonstrate to people, our citizens, and even, you know, our nation, that we have come a long way. And to be elected to this position by your colleagues is a good feeling too, because that means they have confidence in your skills and abilities to lead them to what the future holds. And so to be that person and have that history rested upon your shoulder can, you know, be heavy sometimes. But I do think it's great for our state. I think it's great to say that this is where we are moving, that we understand where we are in history right now and what that means moving forward. So I'm honored to have been elected to that position, but it is a very momentous event.
Yeah, it is. It is. And so we've been talking about you being the leader, and the people watching are probably saying, man, what the hell does the leader do? Right? And so let's educate right now.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? The minority leader, what exactly is the minority leader?
So in the General Assembly, in both chambers, you will have leadership that represent your particular party. And in our case, I'm the Democratic leader because we have the minority here in the House of Representatives. And so the minority leader represents is like the chief spokesman for your caucus. The chief strategist for your caucus runs the policy for your caucus's agenda to make sure that whatever the caucus decide as a group that they want to pursue, the leader's job is to try to ensure that it's done and that they're working in tandem with each other to make sure that when we're on the floor, that our operation is ran, you know, smoothly, that there are people that work with the leader to make sure that our voices are heard. So the leader is responsible really for all of the operations from a policy perspective for our caucus. And so you have the caucus chairman, which is whole nother side of what we do, but the leader is the one that is like the chief strategist, the chief organizer, the chief voice for the caucus, for the General Assembly.
Yeah, and look, don't get it twisted now, because while I think she's minimizing a little bit, but you hadn't seen the moments, right, when we're on the floor and she goes stomping up there to the speaker's podium, right, and you know, when things are not going as they possibly should. Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Right.
There are times that, you know, something would develop on the floor, and which is why you got to be keenly in tune and watching and have your eyes on everything, that you have to go immediately get the speaker's attention, try to get the leader on the other side. If they're not hearing you, then you have to go directly to the speaker, because the speaker works for all of us. The Speaker of the House of Representatives. So my voice is just as important, and particularly as the minority, because you have to make sure that although you're numbers are low, you still represent millions of people. And so their voices need to be heard and not silenced. So yeah, there have been times when I had to march up there and talk to the speaker about some issues. But you've always had my back too now.
Right.
Because you're always watching.
Yeah. And you know, and this is where also the importance of having good relationships with, you know, the people that we have to work with the speaker, and relationships across the aisle. You want to speak to that briefly?
Well, it is important because there are issues that are very important to our constituency that others on the other side may or may not understand or appreciate. But because of your relationship with them, one, they're willing to have an open mind to listen and hear. So that's a door that you can get into. Secondly, when it comes to getting a vote, sometimes they can assist, help, not get in the way, or whatever it takes to get it done. But if you don't have this working relationship with them, you know, it kind of lessens your ability to move things and get things done. So you have to be able to work across the aisle, which is why it's important that the leadership team have this relationship too.
Internally.
Oh yeah, internally, definitely. To help move the agenda. Otherwise, you know, you could be at a gridlock all the time, and yeah, you're getting your points out, but the purpose is to do things for the citizens. Yes. So relationships are keenly important. And then when the other side, or the majority, or the speaker in some cases, know you, they trust you, they've been around you long enough that your word means something to them, that if you bringing them an issue, then there's validity in it in their mind. It's not something that you're trying to trip them up with, and they are willing to help and work with you and at least listen to the point of view that you're bringing forward. So it is tremendous. And there's been times when, you know, something will happen on the floor and we'll say, okay, here's an opportunity. We, you know, they're split right now. Let's see what we can do with our relationships to go and grab this for the people. And we've done it, and it's been successful. And the citizens have benefited tremendously from that.
Right, and that goes to say, and I tell people this all the time, you know, you get people that make comments that say, you know, I know y'all having a tough time up there, you know, because y'all are in the super minority. And my response to them is, this is all I know. Yeah. So I don't know what any other time would look like. Oh, right. Because I got here a little bit behind. Right. Yeah. So how was that?
That's funny.
Right.
So when I got here, Democrats was in the super majority. We had 67 Democrats when I got here. So we had every chairmanship, chair, vice chair, subcommittee chair, secretary. We had all the positions, and so we were the ones in power. And so when we lost power, we ended up in this withdrawal world because we were so used to running things, you know. So yeah, it was good. I mean, you still, you know, there were times when you still didn't get your bills passed because people's philosophy is different. They just philosophically can't agree with you, you know. But it was definitely a different world.
Right. And that's interesting because, you know, being in the super minority and still being able to effectively get bills passed and do things that benefit the constituency that we serve, you know, is amazing. And so, like, when I tell them, no, this is all I know, but what I do know, what it has done, is it has sharpened us to be strategic, to make sure that we have those relationships that are needed. It doesn't mean that you're selling out or watering down, you know. Well, they will try to water down your stuff, but it doesn't mean that you're watering down.
Correct.
Right, but you're still trying to be effective for the people that you serve. And I always say it in every show. You know, we've shifted into a space where, you know, our agenda is health, education, and how do we put money in the households, right?
Correct.
And so, you know, Black Caucus agenda and of course the Democratic Caucus agenda is a little bit more wider than that, but those three pillars are still, you know, some of the main focus also. And the fact that we're aligned on that, it really matters. And you can see the difference, honestly,
I agree with you.
in how we're moving, you know, in this General Assembly.
As well as election integrity, which we know for Black Caucus has always been something we've been, you know, that's been a top of mind for us. And Democratic Caucus. So it's a lot of it. They've just kind of meshed and kind of converged on each other, and we're working closer together, pushing issues as a unit, unit within a unit, if you will.
Yeah, and that's good stuff. So look, you know, we got to talk about some of your other roles because look, let me look at this camera and say this because this woman is connected. Y'all hear me? That's the plug. So y'all make sure y'all lock in with it. But Leader Camper,
Yes.
right? Tell us about some of the other stuff that you're working on.
Well, let me just say this. Two major conferences that I'm working. Well, first let me say this. First off, I am the president of the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women. And this is my last year as president. I've been president for the past 3 years. This is my last year.
Girl, I need you to slow down just a little bit because
okay.
I don't want this to get past everyone. So, Nobel is what we call it. And
Yes.
what does it stand for again?
The National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women, which is all of the black state representative and black women state representative and senators across the country.
That's amazing.
It is, and right now we have about 321 or 2 women that's a part of this organization that, you know, serve, you know, millions of constituencies. Right. And so we have several programs, but one that I'm really proud of that a few of our members were graduates of is the Nobel Women Leadership Institute. I recommended Representative Lamar, who went through and is a graduate. Senator Robinson went through and was a graduate of that program. And we had some community people back in 2017 when we had the conference here that went through.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, it's a great program.
And it's like a mentorship program, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because members are assigned, when they come to the program, they're assigned a mentor of an elected woman. That can, and try to get them from somewhere else in the country to mentor them, so when they come in, should they decide to run, because part of what the program is about, getting women into corporate spaces, running for office if they want to, nonprofit leaders and things like that. And so the mentor is matched with them to help them should they decide to do that, you know, what to look out for and stuff like that. And they track them and keep up with them.
That's amazing. So I just want to reiterate Nobel, or National Organization of Black Elected
Legislative Women.
Now, and it's 321 of those members that, and you're the president.
I am the president.
Right.
And it's an honor to be the president. You know, here again, you have people that believe and trust in you. Now, Representative the Honorable Speaker Pro Tem Emeritus Lois DeBerry was a founder of that organization. Out of the 11 founders, she was one of them. And it was at a time back in 85, I'm sorry, back in 85, where they saw was a void for women legislators to have their own platform and to reach other women to encourage them to run for office. So they started this organization. It's grown since then. So to be the president of an organization she founded, I get emotional about it sometimes, you know. Yeah. So even our scholarship that these women I was just talking about took part in is named after Lois. So we named it after Lois. And
she was a mentor of yours, correct?
Oh yes, right. Definitely. Yes.
How much impact does her mentorship have on how you operate and how you move?
Tremendously. Number one, the fact that she saw something in me. She didn't know me before I came. I knew her, obviously, but she didn't know me. But she saw something in me and decided that she would invest in me. And she took me to places and opened doors for me that I'm still reaping benefits from.
And that speaks to
because of her, who she was and is to a lot of people. And so I get emotional sometimes, you know, thinking about her, even in these halls right here, because of the tremendous respect she had here across all lines. It doesn't matter. You name something, she's crossed them. And there are times when I walk down the hall and I stop and say, what would Lois do?
Right.
And I sit and meditate in that, and I think I can feel her spirit kind of leading me to where I need to go, what direction I need to take. So it means a lot to me.
That's awesome, man. You know, I'm honored to have served with her too, and I took a couple of them chewings from her too. Right.
She will do that.
Right. But she was a guardian.
Yes.
And a person who held so much institutional knowledge. And she was funny too. She was funny, And but I'm glad that I had an opportunity to spend some time with her too. But you got the bulk of it. But she was amazing. She was an amazing person to have to to mentor.
Yes.
Yeah, as a mentor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So look. So there's Nobel. Then you got this other thing coming up. Man, you just throwing conferences around left and right.
So
right.
in Nobel, we're gonna host a conference here. It'll be in June timeframe. This one will be virtual because of the pandemic. We're still not full up. And we're gonna prayerfully do something with the National African Museum of Music and Uncle Nearest and try to highlight some of the Tennessee African American companies and things like that. That's in June, but in November, this other organization that I'm a board member of, I've been on their board, I can't remember how many years now, a few, is the National Foundation for Women Legislators. And this one is all women legislators across the country at every level.
Oh, wow.
So you got state, county, school board, city.
Feds, isn't it? Federal?
No, the federal's not in it,
Okay,
just
okay,
state down,
got you.
that are members of this organization. And so we're bringing our conference here in November at the Peabody in Memphis. Great policy sessions. I'm the coach, I'm one of the national co-chairs for it. And so I'm excited about that one because that one we're hoping to be in person.
Yeah. Outdoors will be opened up hopefully by then.
Right.
But let me ask you this. How important are these women organizations and why?
Well, that's a good point. Particularly this last one, the National Foundation for Women Legislators, because it's women coming together across party lines at every single level, talking about issues that affect every level and how we can work together up and down the chain to help each other. So if it's something happened at the city level, which I nominated Councilwoman Patrice Robinson, she's one of our Women of Excellence awardees.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Patrice, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman. So if there's issues at that level that can affect state policy, how do we know each other? How are we working with each other? Are we working with each other? So this is a place where that group comes together and learn across the country. Like if something happened in Minnesota at the city level, county level, and state level together, how did y'all do that? So we can learn from each other. Yeah. It's just a phenomenal organization.
That's awesome, and we need that because we don't want anyone being left out or isolated through policy, whether intentionally or inadvertently. And then women are just smart. We need them. They're smart.
He's right. And we work hard.
Right. So look, the last thing, if we will, just any idea of legislative agenda for this year, and what your plans are. Anything you want to touch on before we cut out?
When we had as a caucus, the Democratic caucus. This is my minority leader hat here. When we had our retreat, there were some things that bubbled up to the top that members cared about and became a part of our legislative package to move forward. And like I talked before, elections was high on the list. Healthcare access, to healthcare, was on the list. Education obviously was on the list. We had a lot of, things that we were concerned about after the pandemic. And then, this virus and how do we help our citizens who had to go through this. So those came out as the top four for us to try to help to deal with. But one other thing that came out from a rural farmer's perspective, which feeds into our agenda of medical marijuana, and how do we move that, and how do we deal with that, and our black farmers participating, should we decide to move that, and hemp and all of that. So that came up too, probably in the 5th or 6th position, something that we cared about.
Yeah, which also fits into that space of supporting business.
Yes.
And minority business. This has been a lot of conversation we've been having lately about making resources available for minority small businesses and micro businesses.
Particularly the micro businesses, because what the COVID-19 showed us, which we obviously knew, that with the virus and pandemic, is how much they were affected by it and all the technical support that they needed to be able to take advantage of the CARES Act, of the HEROES, of the money that's coming down now. And so we gotta fortify them, we gotta support them, we gotta give them wraparound services, if you will, to help push them and lift them up and keep them going. Because they hire, like she said the other day, they hire most of the people in the state. It's these small 10 employees or less, and a lot of them micro 6 employees or less. But they're hiring people to give people jobs and feed into the economy.
Yeah, and one of the things that we found is that these micro businesses, because of the lack of education in a lot of cases, or the lack of resources in a lot of cases, were not in position to receive some of the CARES Act money, whether it's PPP, idle loans, because of paperwork or because of bankability and a whole host of things. So one of the things we've been talking about is trying to provide that support in those cases also.
Right, and particularly now with the rescue plan, there is a lot of money coming into this state and all of them, but I'm just talking about Tennessee right now. And what do we do with it, right? Where can we have the biggest impact? And so what the Black Caucus has decided was a priority for us, or we're talking about, I know other members want to feed into this, is how do we help our Black businesses? How do we help them move the needle? And maybe contracting with the state. And when people think of contracting, they think more of construction, work. Right. But I'm talking about professional services.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're right.
Attorneys, financial planners, caterers. I mean, it's all kind of businesses that we have that could take advantage of some of this work. And so at every level, we need to try to impact and help our small businesses. The other thing we talked about is how do we use this to get money in the hands of families.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Of families. And this is just, a golden opportunity to lift so many people out of poverty. And so we're still working on our overall plan, but these are just some of the things that we know have bubbled to the top. But I think it's like a 9-point plan that I spilled the beans, that he's going to share with everybody a little later on.
Too funny. Yeah, and you're right, though. You're right. But I just want people, when we do these interviews with our members, one, we want to make sure that we highlight our members so people understand, that we got power in there in our caucus. And just last week we had a scientist who was our member, and Representative Sam McKenzie, Vice Chair of the Black Caucus.
Yeah.
Right, he started talking nuclear physics and all kind of stuff on the show, right? Yeah, but it's exciting, and for people that didn't know or didn't know who you were or who I was, to be able to know and be educated on the things that are near and dear and they're important. And I'm sure some of these things are important to the people that's listening and watching also.
Absolutely, because even if you're out there, you know the people in the district know you. There's always new people. There's always more people moving into your district. There's always more people aging up. So it's good that you're holding these so that you're reintroducing, to some, or just introduce them to other members.
Gotcha.
Get them to know who they are and a little bit more about them. So this is a great program. I'm glad you're doing it.
Thanks. She is the history-making leader, minority leader of the Democratic Caucus in the Tennessee State House. She is State Representative Karen Camper, and we are excited that she had time to get here to the show. And again, hey, this has been your Tennessee Black Caucus Weekly. I am State Representative Antonio Parkinson, Chairman of Tennessee Black Caucus. Don't forget to follow us on social media, TN Black Caucus, and make sure that you share this video. And thanks for joining us once again, and we'll be back here same time, this time next week.